All right, Kevin Ward, welcome to the Empty Crypt, man. It is amazing to
Thank
have
you.
you on. I am honored and very blessed to have you on, man. So, for all the people out there who may not know who you are, can you give us a little insight on who you are and what you do?
All right. Well, my name is Kevin Ward. In broad terms, I create art. I think I don't think I'm most known for my appearance on Face Off. I was on season 9 and season 13. So when I do things like that, I kind of lead with this because that's where people would know me from. I create effects, so makeup, but I also do a lot of scenic work. I do props, set design. I've done many things. So we were connected because of Terrifier too.
For sure, yes, sir. No, so just speaking about your life as a makeup, special effects, all of this stuff. So, how did you even get into this? Because I know you're pretty much self-taught.
hmm
So,
Yes, I am self-taught, so I didn't go to a formal school. Do you know what's funny is this is a makeup school. I'm out here. I live in Denver, but I'm out in Portland, Oregon, teaching at a makeup school. I myself never went to a makeup school, but here I am teaching. My journey was mostly self-taught. I did go to an art school, but that was for a separate degree. I would say in respect to makeup, it began in high school in drama class, learning a few just etiquette techniques. And then when I moved to Denver, because I'm from Wyoming originally, I started interning with an effects company. And that was more aimed at sets, but I learned how to sculpt, how to mold, how to cast. And then that segued into working at a haunted house. And then that's when I got reacquainted with makeup because, like I said, I had dabbled a little bit in high school drama. But this time, I took what I had also learned from my internship with molding, casting, sculpting. And was like, okay, now I can mash these worlds together. So I would say the haunted house is where a lot of my development took place. And that's a very common journey, actually, for a lot of effects artists. If you didn't go to school, chances are you worked at a haunted house, learned a lot of tricks there.
nice. And so, so you worked at a haunted house here in Denver.
Yeah, the 13th floor. I worked there for quite a few years, actually.
Nice. Okay. So, I mean, so has art been something you always wanted to do, like from a younger version of yourself? Is that something that you always?
Yes. Yes. I think, and maybe you'll agree, but it seems like when it comes to our passions, we don't really have a choice. It's like we're just compelled to do what we want to do, and that's just who we are. So, I
Mhm.
mean, you could kind of say I chose art, but then again, if I had tried not to, I would have found my way back to it. I just always remember doing it. I remember I grew up loving shows with like a lot of whimsy to them, shows with a lot of monsters in them. I remember I'd always want to draw those things. And then when I found out movies, star real people like us, I thought, man, how do I get involved in this? Granted, this is coming from you know, the brain of a kindergartner, discovering that it's like, whoa, you mean like real people do that? I want to do that. So it was just always in me. I always needed to do art.
For sure. Now, have your family always been supportive of you being in the arts? Like, because I know, speaking with other, special effects artists before, like, some families, oh, that's awesome, and some are like, no, that's not a real job. So, like, did you always have that support when you wanted to get into art?
I did actually. And I think that's something that I have come to realize is such a precious thing to have been able to have because, like you, I've met a lot of people who are kind of late at this because their families weren't supportive. Their families kind of stood in the way. And I think that's something I took for granted for a long time because I never had to fight back. I never had to be challenged about this. Both my parents, my grandparents, my step family, my all my teachers, they always said, "Hey, you're really good at this. You need to keep doing it." And my father, who's not an artist, he grew up playing sports. That was his life. And
Mm,
you hear this trope all the time of, father wants his son to walk in his footsteps, don't do art. Like boys need to be out there throwing a football.
Yes.
He tried to get me into it. I wasn't, but then he never fought me when he realized that I had an aptitude at drawing. He said, "Whoa, that is great. You need to do that." And he would show stuff off to his friends all the time. And that's pretty amazing, actually, that somebody can be, just support what their child's dream is and not really understand it at the same time.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. That speaks volumes to the connection you have with your family. So, how important was it to have that backing? Because I know, like I said, other artists may not have that. So, like, I know that. Would you say that kind of paved your way to push forward with your art?
I think it was absolutely vital because words of affirmation are like my cocaine. If someone says something's good, I think, "Oh yeah, that's give me another." I gotta do stuff that people love. So yes, when I would create whatever it was, like I remember at a young age, you don't have access to a lot. So you got crayons, you got construction paper, you got whatever your parents buy you at the craft store. I did take my mom's fingernail polish once, and I painted all over her closet with it. You're not supposed to do that, but that's just what I had. And I did get in trouble for it, and I think that's when I finally like was given actual art supplies. It's like, okay, this is what you use. But what what was the question you asked me? I feel like I
No, you're
lost it.
no. You kind of answered it because you said, having that support system like you had was very.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like yeah, when I wasn't being destructive in my artistic endeavors, yeah, I think the support was necessary because had I not had that, I feel like I would have struggled with a sense of purpose, and a lot of people do. So
Mhm.
I felt like not only was this a path that I enjoy doing, but it's a path that is being reinforced to me all the time. And I felt like I make people happy when I do this, so I should keep doing this.
You really do, man. I mean, I know I wanted to talk about this a little bit later, but the piece you made for me, I mean, was amazing. And I actually did a video on that just recently.
And I
So
saw that. Thank you.
no problem. Yeah. So for people who may not know, Kevin did design a Jonathan Davis sculpt for me. And I mean, you literally saw the movie and
Mhm.
did it yourself. So man, like walk me through that process. Like how do you see something and then it just turns out into this beautiful masterpiece? Man, it was so good. Damien even was like, wow, when he saw it in person, was like, wow, this is really good. So like how does that translate? So how do you get it from a mold of like a bag of clay to a beautiful project?
Well, what's very challenging are human look-alike sculptures. It's actually a lot easier to sculpt a monster. So if you wanted, I don't know, pick one. If you wanted like the Boris Karloff Frankenstein or whatever, like that's a lot easier to sculpt because you get some liberty with that. You can exaggerate. But when you want someone that's like an actual person, it is really hard to do because you have to capture all the tiny subtleties that make someone look like the way they look.
Mm,
So what I had to do, because I had not met Jonathan at that point, I had to go onto all his social medias and I tried to find as many pictures of his face as I could from as many different angles as I could.
mhm.
Because how else are you gonna get the face right? And I thought his face needs to be right because I'm sculpting an actual person, not just something like if I did Art the Clown, it wouldn't be hard to recognize Art the Clown. He's very iconic.
Mhm.
But it would be like, make the Wizard of Oz characters. The Scarecrow, the Tin Man, the Lion, not very hard. But then when it comes to Dorothy, it's like that doesn't look like Judy Garland. Like it has to if you want it to be that character. So for that, I did start with clay and I just quickly blocked it out. And what I try to do with like human forms is I try to just like figure out, okay, what about somebody's face makes them distinct? Because some people have rounder faces, some people have high cheekbones, low cheekbones, broad nose, whatever. It was honestly just creeping on his social medias sculpting every little detail until I got it right. And I actually did it here at the school. And so while I was doing it, I'd ask my students once in a while, I'd say, okay, you see this head I'm sculpting? They'd say, yeah, what about it? I'd pick up my phone. I say, does it look like this guy? And then I'd hand my phone over. They'd look through. I'm like, yes, maybe. All right, change the lips a little bit. You got the ears pretty close. Maybe change that. And so, I got feedback as I went, and I think that's important too, because you need to know you get a little bit too short-sighted when it's your own work. You need another perspective from that, and hopefully I'm answering this right. Once you have the clay sculpt, then you need to make a stone mold, and that's what I did. It's kind of like this. This is the size of an actual face. So this is called ultracal, and it's a type of plaster. It starts off in a powder form. You mix it with water, and then you put it on your sculpture. So with his head, I made a 2-part mold. So you case that over the clay, you pull the mold apart, you scoop all the clay out. Now you have a negative of what used to be the positive clay. And then inside that negative, you can pour it with your latex and your foam, peel it out, paint it, boom.
Man, you make it sound really
simplified version.
But I know probably very tedious work. I mean, so how long did it take you from start to finish? Or actually, so how long did it take you start to finish to make my piece for me?
The actual mold only took me a lunch break, so less than an hour. But that's the technical part. The technical part I got down. The sculpting it to look like him, I think I spent a few weeks on that.
Okay.
And I took it home with me. I took it to the house I'm staying at. And I would just take it out every once in a while, because I also don't like to look at something for too long, because then you don't start seeing it right. Sometimes you got to put it away for a while, look at it again, and say, okay, that's what needs to be fixed. So I try to really take my time with it, because when you commissioned me for the job, there was quite a lot of time before the convention. So I didn't want to rush it. I wanted it to be right. So I very carefully worked on it. It took me weeks, I guess is what you're asking. From the time you commissioned me up until I painted it right before I flew back to Denver, and I had it in my bag. It went through when I was going through TSA, my bag went through the X-ray, and I saw this little decapitated head go.
How was that? Like, did they like, oh, okay, we need to check this out? Like, what is this?
They opened it, and it's it's obviously a prop. For one thing, no adult's head is that small. Also, nobody's head's made of latex either. So I just explained, like, look, it's a souvenir. It's an effects prop. And they said, you know what? That's not the weirdest thing we've got. It's like, have a nice day. Have a nice flight.
That's awesome, man. So, I mean, just speaking of some of the things you've been on, so talk to me. How did you get involved on Face Off, man? I remember watching that. I can't remember what season, but how did that come about? Like, how did you get on to the show?
What's really cool about Face Off is when season 1 premiered, that was in 2011. That was when I was getting familiar with some of these materials that we're talking about, like Ultracal, the thing I just showed you, was something I started working on. And as I watched Face Off, I would kind of like look behind the contestants and see what was in the lab. I'd say, okay, I recognize that. I recognize that. I was like, whoa, this is all the stuff I'm learning how to do. So that's why the show was appealing to me. It's because I was embarking on the same path. But then the appeal of the show reinforced my path. I thought, all right, well, who knows? Maybe I can be on there one day. I mean, dream big and see what happens. So yeah, I finished watching season 1. I watched season 2, really just thinking, okay, I'm going to watch this season. While I'm watching this season, I'm going to refine my own abilities at this. Maybe by season 3, I'll get on. So I did apply for season 3. I got through the first round. I did an old age makeup on myself, and I went to the bar just to see if it would pass. It seemed fine. Either the bartender fell for it or they just didn't care. But I did manage to get a few drinks and not get ID'd, so that was kind of cool. And I filmed it too. I filmed it. I turned it into Face Off. I said, "Yeah, look, I'm a convincing old man. Like, let me on the show, damn it." And I got through that round, but then you have to like send in a portfolio. You have to do all this paperwork, and I don't know what the determination was because I'm not behind the scenes, but I think I just wasn't ready at that point. I think even though my video was good, my overall portfolio at that point probably wasn't strong enough. So many seasons passed. I kind of had stopped paying attention to the show, but I had kept on doing effects. I worked on a lot of indie films. I did a lot of cosplays. I did a lot of work at the haunted house. People kept saying, "You need to apply for Face Off." And I kept saying, "I already did. They don't want me. To hell with that." And then I remember the fall of 2014. See, it's weird that time goes by this quick, but I remember I got an email from SYFY saying that they're reaching back out to applicants that they saw in the past who they'd like to see again. And I thought, you know what, why not? I'll apply this time. I've got years more experience, and I did. At that point, it was season 9, and I got on. It's a lot of interviews. It's Zoom calls like this. It's a whole gauntlet you have to go through. But I made it on, and as soon as I was cast, I thought I need to go back and rewatch all these seasons I missed because I haven't been paying attention. So I did, and I was trying to determine, okay, what do winning looks have in common? What do losing looks have in common? I don't know. I mean, my research maybe was good enough to get me to hang on for a while, and I got to come back for season 13. So it's weird. What's weird about it is once you're there, I feel like I struggled conceptually a lot because whenever I look through past seasons, I'd see a winning makeup. I would say to myself, "Well, I could do that," but that's not it. It's what I have thought of it, and I think that's where I struggled on the show was being given a challenge and being told, "Okay, in 30 minutes, you need to have your concept because you have to start sculpting." That's where I'm just like, dude, like, man, I think that's hard to do, honestly.
I mean, yeah, it probably I've never done anything remotely close to what you've done, but I mean, you gotta kind of pat yourself on the back, man. There's not many people that get those, amazing opportunities, and you got to do it twice. So I mean,
Right.
so how was it though? Like you being there on the show, like how did you feel? Like were you soaking it all in? Were you nervous? Like what was kind of going through your
I
mind?
was nervous. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, so like I said, the whole application process is very tedious. It lasts months, seriously, because you have to talk. You have to talk to the casting people. They fly you out there because you have to do a demo on yourself, and then like a psychologist has to talk to you. They put you, yeah, they put you through a lot to get onto the show, and then I finally get on, and our first challenge is at the museum. I don't remember what it's called, but it's like a big nature and science museum in LA. And what kept going through my head was Eminem's song. You got one chance, you got one opportunity. I kept hearing that. I'm like, oh my God, I am gonna blow this. That's what I kept thinking the whole time. Was I'm gonna throw up mom's spaghetti. That's like that's all that was going through my head. And you see, yes, I was nervous. I was nervous then. And I didn't pack very much. I didn't pack very much for season 9 or season 13 because I kept thinking I was going to be the first one to go. So, yeah, I actually brought very little with me. I was meeting all my fellow contestants, trying to kind of size them up. I was trying to find out, okay, how long have you been doing this? How long have you been doing this? And then I was trying to like feel out, who's weak, who do I got to do better than? And then once we're in the lab and I saw everyone sculpting, I thought, damn, everybody is good. Like this is gonna be tough.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
it was.
So, like, how do you try to stand out in a competition like that? Like, it must be hard because you're around so many talented people, and it's like, art is interpretation, right? So, if you're given a subject, how you interpret it is completely different how someone else. So,
Right.
how do you stack up against that?
I wish I had known this then, but I kind of suspect with art and especially competition shows, is there's a big box you have to stay inside. Even though they say think outside the box, I'm not sure how much they mean it. Maybe think outside the small box, but at least got to stay inside this box because the way I try to stand out is I always try to come up with concepts that are really like obscure. And I try to come up with things that are like really ambitious because I work pretty fast. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna just do a lot and try to impress the judges. And though that's the thing that stood out about me on the show, I think it was always the nail in my coffin too. Because season 9, first episode, I was in Bottom Looks. Omar and I made this giant clam, which I'm pretty proud of because it holds the record for the biggest mold on the show. We made an 8-foot mold to do this clam. And the judges were like, what the hell is this? Like, that looks like it came from Pee Wee's Playhouse. But, the internet tore me apart too. But, whatever. It's what we did. But I do remember being in Bottom Looks first episode thinking, if I survive this, I cannot let this happen again. And so since then, I remember I was not on Bottom Looks again until my elimination episode. But I made it pretty far. I think that I tried to curb my own enthusiasm a little bit. I think I tried to scale back my really adventurous concepts to a point. And history repeats itself because it feels like season 9 reflected season 13 for me, where I started off low, decided to try to be a little bit more conventional in my art to survive for a while. And then I did. And then both times, both on season 9 and season 13, I quite liked my elimination makeup. In both instances, I thought, you know what, this is a risk, but I want to do a makeup that I feel like represents me. And I'm going to do it. Both times it was funny because I would always go to the stage thinking, okay, it's me that's going to go home. And then it wasn't. And then it wasn't, and then it wasn't, and then it wasn't. And then when I went to the stage thinking, oh, I like this makeup. This one's great. That's the time that they say, nope, you're out.
Oh man, but still, man, it's still kudos to you. You do amazing work.
Thank
So,
you.
some of the work that you've done. I know you've done a few TV shows and all that stuff. So, how is it like having your work being shown across, basically across the world?
It's really amazing. And it makes you better because you feel like the bar is higher. Before I got onto Face Off, I felt like I had validation all the time. Because if you have a sort of path that's a little unusual that not a lot of people do, they're going to commend you for it. It might not be, even if it's not really up to standard. If I'm hanging out with people that aren't effects artists and I can do anything effects related, they're going to say, that's really good. Whoa, you are so talented. But then when you go into a show where, everybody is as good, if not better, and then the judges, they've been in the industry forever, they're not going to be so easily impressed. They're not the echo chamber you have back home.
Yeah.
They're going to be tough. And I'm very thankful for that because I think it made me a lot better. And I think it's important to get outside your echo chamber and have critics that are fairly tough. So, as far as the distribution you were talking about, having been on TV and having my work be more recognized, I feel like I am held to a much higher standard because people that don't know me, they don't owe me any kindness. If I do something they think it sucks, I mean, you know how the internet is, you know how comment sections are. They're just be like, yeah, that really sucks, dude. Like, so it's I don't know. It's like going to the gym, have a buddy that can lift more than you, so he can like really like move you along, or like try to be around people that are doing better, I guess.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, totally, totally.
Okay.
So, what's been your favorite project to work on? Like, what's been one you're like, oh man, I wish I can go back and do that again?
Oh, just ever.
Ever? Yeah. And it could be makeup, it could be special effects, set
Okay.
design, what have you.
Well, Face Off will always be a highlight for me. That was an incredibly fun experience, and it was truly life changing too. I worked on a web series for a while called Bored as Hell, and it's about Satan retiring and getting
Yeah.
his own talk show. And that was just me and a bunch of friends of mine, but it's been inactive for some time. But that was fun. I wouldn't mind revisiting that again. I used to body paint in Key West before the pandemic. I don't know what it's like anymore down there, but we used to do Fantasy Fest where, the rules were like, it was very nude friendly at the time. So we did a lot of body paints, and I kind of miss that. That'd be fun to go back to. It's hard to say. It's hard to narrow down like the one thing that was just so much fun. But Face Off absolutely stands out to me. That's definitely a major part of my highlight reel.
Nice. Now, do you think you'll ever get back into like the haunted attraction and all that stuff?
That I don't think so, because the way the way the haunted house felt to me is it felt like it was a very good place to grow. But there's a point to where, all right, what am I going to do next? Do I want to own my own haunted house? I mean, I personally don't. So I don't know what kind of latitude is left for me at the haunted house. I would rather get into more film stuff. Denver has a good film community, but not a good film industry. So I mean, there's a lot of indie stuff, but I would like to venture out further. Just do
Oh, yeah,
bigger films. That's I think what's next for me.
just the film industry. So, I mean, I know you
Yeah.
said on a few indie projects. So, like, if somebody wanted to book you for an upcoming film, like, how can someone reach you and kind of talk about concepts and all that stuff?
Email, Facebook, it happens all the time. I mean, I'm very forthcoming with my contact information, and it's word of mouth a lot of times. Sometimes I'll get a text from a number I don't know, and it'll go something to the effect of like, "Hey, I was referred to you. We're shooting this summer where you need an alien or we need a zombie or whatever." I'm easy to reach. I mean, follow me on Instagram, send me a message there. I get a lot of work that way, and I like making time for what I can. I mean, if I'm too booked, then I'm too booked. But I'm pretty flexible, and I like to travel. So if you got something for me abroad, let me know. I'll go.
For sure, man. So, like, speaking of the film industry, though, like, so what's been the newest film that you've worked on or that you helped create?
The latest one, friend Dennis Vincent, he's working on a werewolf film, and that's the one I've been the most heavily involved with. We went
That's,
out to New York a couple times to shoot it.
is that the Western werewolf film? It's like a Western. It's called Blood Moon Rising or something.
No, it's not a Western. It's not released yet. It's still in production.
Gotcha.
This
Okay.
one's called this one's called Mark of the Werewolf. It'll be out, I mean, maybe this fall, but we don't know. But that's the most recent thing I've been working on.
Gotcha. Okay, my apologies. Because I know there's an indie filmmaker that's trying to do a Western werewolf movie, and I thought you were working on that. But no, man,
Oh,
that's
okay.
so. What's been the funnest sculpt that you've done? Like, and what's been the one? Okay, so yeah, your funnest sculpt, and what's been the one you're like, oh my gosh, I cannot get this. Like, this is gonna take forever.
All right, that one I do have the answer to. And it's funny, these were very similar. One of my favorites was a giant fat lady. I sculpted it for It's for a haunted attraction owned by Rob Zombie. So in the
Nice.
years 2014 and was it? I guess they're both in. Yeah. So in 2014, he did a haunted house called Haunt of a Thousand Corpses, based off House of a Thousand Corpses. So we did some work for that, and then he did another one because that one was really successful. We got to make like the facade with the big skull on it, and then I got to meet Rob Zombie. That was pretty cool.
Oh, dude.
That was pretty cool. So we did that, and then the following season we did a haunted house based off of the Devil's Rejects, and we needed a giant fat lady on a spring. You know, like those toy those animals that you ride on the playground that have like the spring on them. We needed to make a giant fat lady, so I sculpted this big fat lady with this big dimpled ass and like pigtails and everything, and it was a very challenging sculpt to make, but man, it was fun.
I mean,
And then we put a big spring up inside her, so yeah, she looked like a big ride-on toy. We had like a saddle for her. That was pretty cool.
oh man. So how long did that take you?
Probably a couple months. I mean, I was able to get a team of people to work for me on that one because not only was that a lot of clay, like a lot of clay, it was a lot of molding material too.
Oh man, I bet. So would you say that one was like the funnest one and the most difficult one you've done?
I would say that one was, yeah, probably. And then one of the most difficult ones I did was February last year. It was a giant pig. And it felt very similar because, it was another big, girthy thing I had to do. But with a pig, I did not enjoy that one at all. The deadline was really unreasonable, and the clients were hard to work with on that one too. So I just remember nothing about that one felt fun. It was a difficult mold to make. It was difficult to cast. The project wasn't very fun. So I mean, that just goes to show you that sometimes something really difficult and challenging can be your most rewarding if the setting is right for it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like the pig one, it was done for this indie film in Albuquerque. Then I don't know if it ever got made, but the production ended up being really disorganized, and they just gave me such an unreasonable time frame that I think that's what made me resent the project so much, is because if you have a difficult piece of work to do, but you can space it out, then it's not too bad, and you can actually have some fun with it. So I
Yeah.
think with the fat lady, we had a lot of space to work and have fun, and I had help on that one. So I think those are my two: fat lady on top, pig on the bottom.
For sure. Do you have any pictures of the fat lady on your socials?
Oh, do I? I'll find one for you. I promise.
For sure. I have got to see that.
Okay, because it was a while ago. It was before I even started Instagram, but let me do a Facebook search. I'll just type in Kevon Ward fat lady, see what comes up. Because if I can find it, I'll send you a picture of it.
For sure.
I'll look for it because I would like you to have it.
For sure. I have got to see that, man. So just jumping back into like so the whole school. So you doing the makeup. So how's that been going? Like how long you've been there quite some time now, right? Trying to teach.
Yeah, this is the third time I've been out here, but this is the longest time. I'm coming up on 7 weeks actually. So this is a very involved program. In fact, I wish I had been able to take a course like this. I think it would have gotten me ahead a lot further. It would have gotten me ahead faster for sure. But in this course, we cover sculpting, molding, we cover blood rigs, old age. We cover different types of materials, gelatin, silicone, foam latex, out of the kit stuff, bruising, burns, black eyes. I mean, there's a lot.
So
I
whole
mean,
thing. I thought when you were saying makeup, it was more like more or less, makeup, like, makeup. like for like a fashion shoot or something like that. I didn't know you were doing, special effects, molds.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, I should
awesome.
have been more. I should have clarified more. Yeah, I teach the effects portion because I don't do beauty makeup. I mean, I'm I have before, but that's not my specialty. There is a beauty portion of this, but I don't teach that. I come out here and do the gross stuff, the blood gags, and show people how to like sculpt monsters and stuff. So that's my thing.
For sure. Has any of the students, like, before you got there, like, recognized you, like, oh, there goes Kevin from Face Off? Like, have you had
Yeah, it's kind of one of the selling gimmicks for this is when the school is trying to get enrollment, they'll advertise whatever teacher they get. So in my case, it was Kevin Ward from Face Off, and they've had other Face Off alumni teach here. They've had Todd Debrasini teach here. He's a very seasoned artist. He's on his third volume of the Bible of effects book. So he's a veteran in this for sure. So they've gotten some real good people here. And yeah, so they'll use whatever creds you have to prop the school up to get people interested.
Oh, okay. So pretty much anybody, as long as you have a creative mind, you can simply just go to the school, I would
Mhm.
assume. That's awesome. So now what keeps you motivated to keep doing what you're doing? Like, I know sometimes it may get a little rough. Like, oh, okay. But like, what keeps you driven?
I guess the times when things turn out to go really well, because I think in any profession we have our bad days for sure, and we've got days where we wonder why we're doing this. Because yeah, I've had some negative experiences throughout this, but I think when they turn out good, they turn out so good, it makes you want to keep that coming.
Mhm.
And I just get so bored. I mean, even when I wear myself out, I mean, as soon as we finish up the program this week and then I'll be back in Denver, I'll lay low for a little while, but probably not that long. I mean, I'm looking forward to a break, but I'm so restless that I don't think a break is going to work for me. So part of my inability to just relax is what keeps me going.
Got okay. And like, what's been your inspiration though? Like, I mean, when you're designing these different creatures or whatever, like, what is the inspiration behind it? Like, do you get to add your own, like, this is my piece, this is what I'm gonna do to it? Like, do you get to add your own flair to some of these projects?
Sometimes I think that's more common when I do a project just on my own versus a client project, because client projects can go a couple of ways. I've had some where the task is so specific, there's
Mhm.
not really a whole lot of room for me to inject my style. Well, not necessarily that, but like there's no real creative choices I need to make. I know exactly what they want because they'll give me references, or in the case of the piece I made for you, like the source material is there for already. I
Mhm.
just need to look up that scene from Terrifier 2. And that's a good thing actually, because that makes my job quite a lot easier when I know exactly what the outcome needs to be. Now, I do have projects where I need to create, I mean, zombie movies are not going anywhere.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Apparently werewolves are back in because I've worked on a lot of werewolf stuff this last year. If the task is just, hey, make me a werewolf and make it kind of cool, well then turns out I'm kind of the designer of it also.
Mhm.
That's where I think my personality gets to show a little bit more.
Okay.
And then as far as inspiration goes, that just sometimes I'll pull my own, but sometimes I'll ask the client, send a mood board to me, show me examples of monsters you've liked from other things, or what have some of your favorite werewolves been? What sort of werewolf archetypes do you want to incorporate, or what areas would you like to make the werewolf innovative? Let's talk about that. And so, inspiration to me, it's kind of a handoff between me and the client.
Mhm.
One of my favorite pieces I've done which I think you've probably seen, were my Real Monsters from Nickelodeon. I did
Oh,
lifelike versions of those.
uh-huh.
Did you see those?
I did those.
Okay. That was just something I felt like doing. That was not a commission. I just wanted to do it. So I did because I was wondering, like, what would these look I just remember 90s Nickelodeon was so cool and weird. And I remember that show because I really liked it. And I was thinking, what would these look like if they're actually real? They'd probably be horrifying. So my inspiration for that was the cartoon because the
Mhm.
cartoon already has the characters designed. But then I wanted to add realism to each of them. So for Crumb, he needed to be human-like because he's made of skin. So I just looked up kind of gross, images of, whatever I could find, right? Like, but for Oblina, I wanted her to be like more reptilian, more bug-like. So I looked up a lot of images of snakes, of like grasshoppers, ants to see like how the joints in their legs looked. And then with Ickis, I wanted him to be crittery and kind of cute. So I took a lot of different animal sources for him because obviously he's got the iconic ears, he's got the big purple ears. So I looked up bunny ears, but I also looked up bat ears. I looked up he's like a composite of several different animals, at least in my version, because in the cartoon, his shape is pretty simple.
Mhm.
In my version, the body, he's got like the body of a monkey. He's got the hands of a rat. He's got the mouth of a canine with toad-like eyes and then like bunny ears. I just started looking up all these random animals to do him. I thought if I take that here, that there, that there, and then put them all together, I think that'll look like him.
For sure, man. So like what's next for you? Like after you get done, oh sorry, my son just came in here. So like what's next for you? Like is there projects that we're gonna be working on in the future or like what's next for you?
One frontier I have been exploring is animation. That's something that I really want to get into. And there's a project I got cooking. I haven't released anything about it yet because I want to get it further along, but I think that's something I really want to get into because it almost circles us back to the beginning of the conversation because you were asking how long I've done art, and I've always done art. It's just art is a big umbrella term for all kinds of different things within art. So I've done traditional art because I do a lot of like canvas painting and stuff. But we've also talked about body painting. We talked about effects. We talked about sets. We talked about props. Animation to me is another type of art that I want to get into. So that's what's next for me as far as like what I think my next personal challenge is. As far as what my next jobs coming up are, there's a kung fu movie that my friend Mark Grove is working on that I'm going to help with when I get home. And then we got to finish the werewolf movie. So that's all right. So those are the projects that are around the corner.
Sorry, give me 1 second, just 1 second.
All right, you're fine.
Sorry about that. Son just woke
Oh,
up
you're
from
good.
no, but yeah, man, I'm looking forward to what's in store. And I'm actually glad that we actually kind of connected a little bit. But when you do get back to Denver, man, I gotta get you to autograph your
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad that you like. Cause what part of town are you in?
so I live in just Metro Denver area.
Huh.
So what is this? I live in Northland or like Thornton area. So
That's yeah, same.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I live on. Yeah, I live on 74th and Washington. So it's
Okay.
almost. That's almost in Thornton.
Yeah, so like I'm like 84th, like 84th in Washington or something like that, or no 84th and Pecos area.
Yeah, I know exactly what's at. We're like neighbors almost. All
Yeah,
right, cool. Yeah, well,
we got to connect, man. So definitely,
okay.
I'm just happy that that we had this chat, man. I'm looking forward to what you have next. But before we close, so what's been some of your some of the horror movies that you grew up watching that that inspired you to make what you make?
Okay. Well, this one's not a horror movie, but Dinosaurs, that Jim Henson show was one of
Okay,
them. I really, I really love that. And I love Chucky from Child's Play.
okay, yep, yep.
He was probably, he's so underrated. I mean, you got all these other slashers that are always showing up, but I always really liked him. I did like Halloween. I remember it scared me when I first saw it. Like, it was a creepy film. I watch it now and it doesn't work on me. But I remember when I first saw it, it creeped me out. My favorite werewolf movie is Silver Bullet.
Okay, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that one.
I love that one. It's so I don't know what you would think of it because you don't have a childhood relationship with it like I do, but it's so nostalgic to me. And I remember my dad recorded it for me, on VHS. And I was probably like 7, I don't know. But I was watching it and I got scared. So I went to my room and he came in, he said, "I recorded that movie for you." He said, "Not for me, for you. Get your ass in there and watch it." So he made me go watch this werewolf movie. And then I loved it and I would watch it all the time. Gary Busey's in it. It's just I just really liked it. It's very 80s kind of corny. Yeah, Silver Bullet. That was one I used to watch a lot of.
For sure. Now that you mentioned that, I'm gonna have to check it out. I think my favorite werewolf movie. What I forgot the one. Maybe you can help me here. So it's the brother. It's like a brother and sister. They're older, and the brother gets attacked, and like he moves in with the sister. I forgot the name.
It's Christina Ricci's in it, right?
Yes, but I forgot or
You know
no
what's great is Google remembers everything.
that
Christina Ricci werewolf
Bad
movie.
Moon.
Let's see.
Oh, Bad Moon.
Cursed. It's called Cursed.
See,
Does
I
that
don't
sound
think
right?
I don't think that one's it. I think it's Bad Moon is what I'm talking
Is
about.
it?
Yeah, type in.
Because Jesse Eisenberg is in it. Well, this one here. So Christina Ricci and Jesse Eisenberg, they play brother and sister in this one. It came out in 2005.
Type in Blood Moon. I think Bad Moon. Is it Blood Moon or Bad Moon? It's one of the
Let's
two.
let's let's look it up. So you said Bad Moon. Okay, there is a one called Bad Moon, 1996. His lawyer sister. Okay, well, this is about a brother and sister also. All right.
Yeah,
Well, there you go.
yep. Bad Moon. Have you
Okay,
seen
so
that?
bad. Well, I haven't seen Bad Moon. I'll have to check out this one.
You will not be disappointed.
That werewolf looks cool too.
Yes, it is really freaking good. Love the story was phenomenal. The special effects, even the werewolf was amazing. You will not be disappointed.
All right, yeah, I'll watch this because I didn't know about this one.
Yes, you definitely got to check and let me know what you think about that too, because like I said, you will like this one.
Cool. All right. So I got some homework then.
For sure. Well, man, I'm not going to keep you too long. I do appreciate you hopping on. I know you're very busy and all that good stuff. So, but whenever you do get back, I would love to meet up with you. That way I can get an autograph for sure because I'm a fan of your work, man. So, what's your social medias where people can find you, can look up some of your stuff?
Super easy. Kevon Ward. That goes for Instagram, goes for Facebook, and my name's spelled unusual, so I'm easy to find. Kevon. I do have a website that should be getting launched any day now. One of my friends is working on that for me, and it's looking pretty cool. So KevonWard.com should be up soon also. And I'm hoping that ushers in a lot of work. We'll see.
Yes, sir. Well, I know a few like indie film producers that definitely could use your assistance. So I'll probably definitely will send them your way. And
Oh yeah,
if
I would love that.
so, I'll definitely do that for you, man. So, but it's been a pleasure. Anything you want to say in closing?
What do I want to say in closing? Well, thank you back for
Of
doing
course.
this. I enjoyed it. And what do I want from the world? Make
Or maybe some advice.
support artists. That's what I want. Support artists.
Definitely.
Check out our stuff. If you don't buy our stuff, you can share. Just bring us some awareness.
For sure. Now, any advice you can give to a up and coming, artist that may be struggling with like, some self doubt? Like, what can you give the next artist?
Man, you gotta work through it because it's a discussion I've had with so many friends of mine, with my students. It's an internal discussion I have with myself. This stuff is hard to do, and things come out wrong. I mean, the reason why I'm at the school right now is because I'm running these foam latex pieces, and I keep getting bad runs. And I've been doing this for like 15 years now. It's tough, man. Things don't always turn out the way you want. Clients can be difficult. You gotta always track how far you've come. Because if you stick with it, even on your discouraging days, as long as you keep moving the needle forward, if you look back, you'll realize, hey, I am making upward trajectory no matter what. So I think to keep yourself going is to really just mark the progress you've made along the way. And the only way you can do that is if you keep doing it. And I kind of hate cliches, but mistakes really are how you learn. It honestly just is. You gotta like commit all of them to know what not to do. And it happens all the time. I mean, my students have self-doubt a lot, and it's usually in the very early stage of their sculpt. They'll say like, how come my sculpt sucks? It doesn't look right. I said, it's not supposed to look right. It's like walking past a building that's just 2x4s and plywood.
Hmm.
And you're wondering why it doesn't look like the house that you thought it was supposed to be. And you're like asking questions about the wallpaper. I'm like, dude, like there's a long way to go. You just gotta, or it's like the rough draft of an essay. It's gonna
Yeah.
have misspellings. It's gonna have run-on sentences. You know what I mean? Like things start off rough. It's all the refinement that makes things better. So I think not being too focused on like where you're at. So trying not to be so narrow-sighted along the way. Think broadly. Think about what something can become, but also think about where you've been before and where you are now. I guess if I can make that a shorter piece of advice someday, I would. That's it, I guess.
Sure, man. Again, I appreciate it. And
Mhm.
thank you for any artists out there that may be watching. So yeah. So I'll be sure to contact you because I know there's some stuff that I wanted to get done and run past you.
Absolutely. That
So
sounds great.
for sure, man. So I will talk to you here shortly.
All right, and I'll be in touch with you when I'm back in town.
Yes, sir. Take care. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Bye.